And today I'm going to do the romance book tag, and I'm so excited about it because it's Valentine's Day. I hope you're having a great Valentine's Day. So let's get started. Okay, so the first question is the first romance book you remember reading, and I'm probably have read something else, but the first one I do remember reading is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. It is my most thoroughly read book I've ever read, I believe. I would say I read Emma first, but I don't know. I feel like it's this one still. I don't know why, but I'm not sure. I don't really recall. The last romance you ever read was, I read All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover a few days ago. I sat down because I had like a 20-minute gap and like flew through it. I read it in like 3 hours. Absolutely loved it. Tore my heart out. It was so emotional. Romance I would recommend to a newbie, I would say Don't You Forget About Me by Bahari McFarlane. There are so many, but those are really good ones. Just start with a really good recommendation so you can get into it. Romance you are more likely to recommend to another romance reader. I would say this series by Lauren Lane. It's the Passion on Park Avenue series. I just don't hear a lot of people talking about it, and I absolutely loved them and found them really enjoyable, fast, quick romance reads. So beautiful covers too. So yeah, I would suggest these ones. Underrated romance, well, I just don't hear about it now, but I would say is Daisy's Back in Town by Rachel Gibson. I love a ton of Rachel Gibson's, but I feel like she's underrated overall. She is like really popular. Like, I find her books everywhere, but I just don't hear people ever talking about her. So I'd say that is my favorite underrated romance. And then a romance you would just think people would stop talking about. I hate to be mean, but it'd probably be The Beach Read by Emily Henry. I just didn't really like it all that much. It was an okay read for me, and I don't get the hype. An auto buy author for me, honestly, is Lauren Lane, because her books are hard to get a hold of. I can't always get a hold of them in the library, so I tend just to buy her stuff. But there's a lot of other authors, probably Bahari McFarlane, K.A. Tucker, Taylor Jenkins Reid when she writes romance, typically Christina and Lauren. I mean, there's kind of a lot of automatic buy authors for me. An author I used to love but you've since abandoned, I have but have not. Like, I absolutely love her, and she's a historical romance writer, and I have a whole shelf of her up here, and it's Believe Belgravia. Her most famous one is The Other Boleyn Girl. I absolutely adore these books, but they take so long. I just haven't picked one up in 2 years, so I haven't abandoned her, but I love them. But it is a historical dive, and you're not always reading these for the romance, because romance doesn't always happen in history, but most of them are historical romances, but they're hefty. They take me so long to get in through. I just kind of haven't gone back there in a while. So best book with your favorite trope, I don't know that, because like I love all romance books, I do. And I love like all tropes if they're done well, if I believe them. There's so many tropes that are repetitive that I don't really believe a lot of the time, like enemies to lovers and stuff, or just like set up, like push. I don't even know what this one's called. It's like when they're pushed together and they have to learn to get along. I mean, that's still enemies to lovers, but it's in like a different way. There's just so many that I like them all. If you can sell it to me and I believe the storyline, we're good to go. Okay, so a book you liked even though it's a trope you hate. I don't even know what this trope is called, but it's like the two lovers, one choice trope, it says on here basically, but it's The Light We Lost by Jill Santopolo. This girl's like moved on and married, and typically I'd hate this book, but this is one of the best books I ever read, and I would highly recommend it. Problematic favorite, I wouldn't even say this is a problem, but this book I would probably never ever reread. It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, because it like ripped my heart out, but it like made me so angry and stuff, but it just, I recommend it to everybody. It was so good. So I guess this is problematic. A book that everyone else loved that has you scratching your head is probably Me Before You by Jojo Moyes. She's an excellent writer. I love some of her stuff. Like, one of her books was my favorite books in 2020, but I just don't get it. It just made me angry, and I just didn't know. I can't go on with it. People always tell me, go back and reread it, or go back and reread it, or go move on to the next one, but I never ever do. It wasn't for me. Your favorite romance person to like follow, there's a lot on YouTube I follow. You can just like Google my favorite romances, and that's what I Google, and it comes up with a lot of YouTubers. And I don't really get on Twitter, so I don't really follow anybody on Twitter. I do look at like TikTok and Instagram sometimes, and there's just a ton on there too, but that's more aesthetically stuff. So YouTube, I would say Bookables and I have very similar tastes, but then every once in a while it's like, I don't like that at all, and she'll love it, and vice versa. Gosh, there's so many, I can't remember them, but there's so many that read, like, they read like all historical, or some of them read all steamy reads, and I think one of them's Marie, and she's, oh, it's so good. But they really kind of pick through them so I can pick through them to read them. That answers 17 as well. A person or place you go to. I go to YouTube for reviews. That's how I found Bookstagram, is I went to YouTube and was like, what's a new book I would like? And there, yeah, I feel like I get way more honest opinions than like something on the New York Times bestseller list. And next is a book that like reminds you of yourself, or the most character of yourself. I don't really look for like, oh, that reminds me of me, but just typically something I get along with. I would say maybe Fix Her Up by Tessa Bailey, just because I am one of those persons that find it hard to say I want to do this in my life kind of thing, and I think that's what she's searching for, but I'm not funny like her, so I'm not really like her at all, but this is the closest it's gonna get. But she's a clown. I'm not a clown. I'm a preschool teacher, but yeah, that's as close as it's gonna get. Oh, a romance cover you love. I love all the covers that have been here for the last couple of years. So all the illustrated covers with the bright, fun colors. This one is one I absolutely love. Anything that looks like this, I'm gonna put on my list. Like, I'm gonna judge a book by its cover just because I like the fun characters in the font, and yeah, an illustrated one, I really like them. Book you've read more than twice, try like once to twice a year, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. That one's so easy for me. Best romance audiobook, I don't know, it might have been The Light You Lost by Jill Santopolo. I really like who reads her books. I've read a couple of them, and I think she typically is the same audiobook person. But I really liked that one, or something with like a lot of characters. I don't remember what really has a lot of characters or not. Well, also stuff by Lauren Lane, because a lot of it, I don't know if it's printed or not, but I've listened to it on audiobook from the library. So that, not because it's like the best audiobooks, but just because I really, really enjoy them on audio. But I prefer audio when it's like fantasy or something really hard to get into, that there's a lot of characters, and romance typically isn't like that. So your favorite heroine or hero? I would say heroine, maybe Wild at Heart. I feel like this girl had a huge development arc. Between The Simple Wild, she was quite annoying, and then this one she developed a lot. So most recently it'd be probably her. What is her? Kala. Her name's Kala. So I really, really enjoyed how big of an arc she had. And my favorite hero would be, I'm a Darcy fan. And my favorite book of all time, the last question book, question number 25, is gotta be Pride and Prejudice. But yeah, Darcy is probably my favorite hero of all time. And I've seen the movie to Pride and Prejudice, I don't know how many thousands of times. The Keira Knightley version is my favorite romance to movie update. So yeah, definitely an oldie but a goodie. This is why I reread so many spin-offs, because you can only reread Pride and Prejudice so much, I guess. But I reread so many spin-offs every year. I love it. And I will see you guys in the next one. Hope you guys enjoyed this Valentine's Day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!